Every morning, before the sun rises, you wake up with the same mind you had yesterday. The same thoughts, the same emotions, the same worries waiting in line to greet you. They come uninvited, but familiar, like old friends you never asked for, yet never let go. And without even realizing it, you begin to step into the same story, the same reality, the same version of you. This is the prison of the old self. It's a prison without walls, without bars, without guards, but it's a prison nonetheless. It's built out of your thoughts, reinforced by your emotions, and guarded by your memories. You think you are free because you can move, talk, and dream. But true freedom doesn't exist when you keep living in a mental loop. Think about it. 95% of the thoughts you had yesterday are the same ones you'll think today. That means, if yesterday you woke up in doubt, in fear, in anger, or in limitation, chances are high you'll repeat that state again today. And as those thoughts repeat, they produce the same emotions. Those emotions harden into moods, and those moods calcify into your personality. Soon, you're not just experiencing fear, you are fearful. You're not just remembering anger, you are angry. The prison becomes invisible because you mistake it for your identity. But here's the hard truth. Your identity is nothing more than a collection of repeated patterns. The old self convinces you that this is who you are, that you cannot change, that life will always feel this way. You begin to live on autopilot, repeating the same behaviors day after day, following the same schedule, reacting to the same people, thinking the same thoughts, until your life becomes a predictable script. Nothing changes, because nothing within you changes. And here sits the most dangerous part. Predictability feels safe. The brain loves it. It says, stay here. Don't sit change. Don't sit risk. Don't sit grow. Because at least you know this prison. At least you understand these walls. But safety is not freedom. Predictability is not life. Real life, true life, is created when you step into the unknown. But the old self resists this at all costs. Because the old self only survives if you keep feeding it with your attention. It needs your focus, your energy, your belief in its lies. It whispers, remember what happened before. Don't try again. Don't open yourself up. Don't take that risk. Stay small. Stay afraid. And the more you listen, the tighter the prison becomes. This is why people can spend years, decades, even feeling like nothing changes. It's not because they lack opportunity. It's not because life is unfair. It's because they wake up every day and unconsciously choose to be the same person. They unconsciously choose the same prison, the same bars, the same loop. But here's what you must understand. This prison is not real. It's made of thoughts, and thoughts are not permanent. It's made of emotions, and emotions are meant to move. It's made of memories, and memories are only electrical patterns in the brain. The walls are imaginary, but they feel real because you've repeated them for so long. To break free, you must first see the prison for what it is. Awareness is the first key. When you catch yourself thinking the same thoughts, feeling the same emotions, replaying the same past, you are shining a light into the dark. You're saying, I see you. I see the loop. I see the prison, and I am not it. That single recognition begins to crack the walls. Imagine standing outside yourself for a moment, like an observer. Watch the way you move through your day. Watch the thoughts that arise, the emotions that follow, the actions that repeat. See how mechanical it has all become, and then ask yourself, is this really me, or is this just a version of me I've been rehearsing for years? Because the truth is, yourself is not fixed. It's not carved in stone. It's not a sentence. Yourself is fluid, changing, alive. You are capable of reinventing it in every moment. But the old self does not want you to know this. The old self thrives on unconscious repetition. And here lies the challenge. It's easier to stay in the prison than to step into freedom. Freedom requires energy. It requires awareness. It requires you to stop living as a memory and start living as a possibility. So many people wait for something external to break the prison. A new job, a new relationship, a lucky break, But no external change can free you if the prison still lives inside. Because even if the walls shift, you'll carry the old self with you and the cycle will repeat. The only real escape comes from within. It begins the moment you declare, I will no longer live as the old me. I will no longer repeat this prison. I choose to create something new. That declaration may seem small, but it's revolutionary. It's like striking a match in a dark cell. The light may be fragile at first, but it's enough to show you that the bars were never real. They were illusions, kept alive only by your belief in them. And once you see the prison for what it is, you can begin the journey of breaking free, not all at once, not overnight, but piece by piece, thought by thought, choice by choice. Freedom begins when you recognize you were never truly trapped, only convinced you were. Chapter 2. You are not your thoughts. There comes a moment in every life when you must face a truth so profound, so liberating, that it can shatter the illusions you've lived under for years. That truth is this: you are not your thoughts. It might sound simple at first, even obvious, but pause, truly pause, and let that sink in. Because most people live as though the voice in their head is who they are. They believe every whisper of fear, every replay of regret, every anxious prediction about the future. They identify so deeply with these thoughts that they never stop to question them. And so their entire life becomes the echo of a mind that was never fully theirs to begin with. Your thoughts are not your identity. They are patterns, streams of energy conditioned by repetition, shaped by your environment, influenced by your past, and reinforced by the emotions you've practiced over and over again. They come and go like clouds across the sky, yet you have been convinced that every passing shadow defines who you are. But let me remind you, you are the sky, not the clouds. Think about it. A thought of doubt rises. I'll never be enough. You feel it, you believe it, and suddenly you live in the cage that thought built. But what if that thought was never true? What if it was only the echo of a childhood criticism, a teacher's harsh word, a parent's unhealed wound passed down to you? That thought is not your truth. It is borrowed. It is conditioned. It is simply a program that has been running in your mind. Now imagine another thought appears. I am capable. I am worthy. I am more than I know. Doesn't the energy shift immediately? The body relaxes. The heart opens. Possibility awakens. One thought leads to fear, another to freedom. And yet you are neither fear nor freedom. You are the awareness that sees them both. This is the awakening, realizing that the real you is not the endless commentary of the mind. The real you is the consciousness that observes the mind. Close your eyes for a moment and notice this. You can hear your thoughts. You can watch them pass, like words scrolling across a screen. If you can watch them, then you cannot be them. The observer is always greater than what is observed. And once you see this, everything changes. Because if you are not your thoughts, then you are not limited by them. You are not condemned to repeat the same inner script forever. You are free to step back, to question, to choose again. Thoughts lose their power the moment you stop worshiping them as truth. You might be asking, but my thoughts feel so real. How do I detach from them? The answer is presence. When a thought of fear arises, do not wrestle with it. Simply notice, fear is here. When a memory of regret surfaces, do not drown in it. Simply say, a memory is passing through. When judgment appears, whisper, that is a thought of judgment. It is not me. This simple act of naming creates space, and in that space you awaken as the witness. Over time, as you practice this awareness, something extraordinary happens. Thoughts no longer control you. They still appear, because that is what minds do, but they pass more quickly, more lightly, like leaves carried by a stream. And in the quiet that remains, you begin to hear something deeper than thought. You begin to sense intuition, the whisper of the soul, the still small voice of truth that was always there but drowned out by the noise of the mind. This is the real you. Not the chatter, but the silence beneath the chatter. Not the storm, but the sky that holds the storm. Think of it like this. If you spend your life believing you are your thoughts, then you are like an actor who has forgotten they are in a play. You become so absorbed in the role, fearful, angry, unworthy, that you forget you were the one who chose to step on stage. But when you awaken to the truth that you are not your thoughts, you step backstage. You realize the costumes can be changed. The lines can be rewritten. You were never trapped in the story. You were always the storyteller. And here lies the true power. When you stop identifying with your thoughts, you gain the freedom to direct them. You can choose new thoughts deliberately, consciously, thoughts that align with the person you wish to become. And with repetition, those thoughts create new emotions, new patterns, new realities. Science has already proven this. Neuroplasticity shows us that the brain rewires itself according to what we repeatedly focus on. A negative thought rehearsed daily carves deep grooves in the brain, making negativity automatic. But a positive thought, practiced again and again, builds new pathways, new connections. You are literally reshaping your mind every time you choose what to think. So the question becomes, which thoughts will you practice? Because if you are not your thoughts, you are free to choose them like tools. You can put down the tool of fear and pick up the tool of courage. You can release the thought of scarcity and practice the thought of abundance. You can stop rehearsing unworthiness and repeat worthiness until it feels as natural as breathing. You are not your thoughts, but your thoughts can serve you if you master them instead of being mastered by them. Remember this. Your mind is like a garden. If you leave it unattended, weeds of fear, doubt, and limitation will grow automatically. But if you cultivate it, if you plant seeds of truth, gratitude, love, and vision, then beauty will bloom. You are not the weeds, nor the flowers. You are the gardener. And when you finally claim that role, life shifts. The prison doors of the old self begin to creak open. You realize you were never trapped at all. The walls were made of thoughts, and thoughts can be changed. So step into this awareness. Watch your thoughts, but do not worship them. Respect them as tools, but never confuse them with truth. Know that you are the consciousness beyond them. And in that knowing, a new horizon opens. Because once you understand that you are not your thoughts, you are free to create thoughts that align with the life you were always meant to live. If thoughts are the seeds of our reality, emotions are the water that gives them life. Thoughts may come and go like clouds, but emotions are the weather patterns that linger in our inner world, shaping how we see, how we feel, and ultimately how we live. Think of this. Every emotion is energy in motion. It's not random. It's not accidental. It is a vibration, a frequency, a signal that you broadcast into the world and into your own body. Joy, gratitude, and love operate on high frequencies, expansive, open, and abundant. Fear, anger, and shame vibrate much lower, constricting, limiting, and heavy. Most people don't realize that their emotions are not just responses to the outside world but also reinforcements of the inside one. When you feel anxious, your body doesn't just experience it in the moment, your body begins to rehearse it. It floods with the chemistry of fear. Your nervous system learns that state, and your cells memorize it. You are literally teaching your body who you are by what you feel. This is why so many live in cycles of stress. The emotion becomes familiar, and the body becomes addicted to it. Stress, anger, even sadness, they become chemical habits. And once the body becomes used to that emotional state, the mind follows, searching for thoughts, memories, and situations that justify it. Your body feels anxious, so your mind searches for reasons to worry. Your body feels angry, so your mind replays the betrayal. Your body feels hurt, so your mind digs into the past for evidence of pain. It is a loop, emotion feeding thought, thought feeding emotion. And it's a loop that traps you in the same reality over and over again. But here is the truth. Emotions are not meant to imprison you. They are meant to inform you. They are signals, like a compass pointing toward what's out of alignment. Fear doesn't mean stop. It means pay attention. Sadness doesn't mean collapse. It means something within you needs healing. Anger doesn't mean destroy. It means a boundary has been crossed. When you shift your perspective, emotions transform from enemies to guides. They stop being weights and start being messengers. But for that to happen, you must learn not to drown in them, but to observe them. Imagine sitting by a river. Thoughts are leaves floating past. Emotions are the currents that carry them. You don't have to jump into the river every time the water rises. You can sit on the bank. You can notice. You can breathe. You can let the current flow without being dragged away by it. That's where transformation begins. The ability to feel without becoming. To recognize, I am experiencing anger, rather than I am anger. To say I notice fear in my body, instead of, I am fear. That simple shift breaks the spell. It loosens the grip. Now think about the emotions you want to live with. Because here is the secret most never realize. You don't need the external circumstance to feel the emotion. Gratitude is not reserved for when something good happens. You can cultivate it right now. Peace is not the result of a perfect life. It's the ground you can choose to stand on. Love is not just given to you by others. It is a well you can drink from within. The future you desire already has a set of emotions tied to it. The successful version of you feels confident, abundant, grateful. The healed version of you feels peace, lightness, joy. The loved version of you feels connection, openness, security. If you want that future, you must first become fluent in those emotions today. You must teach your body what it feels like to live there, before it arrives. This is the opposite of how most people live. Most say, I'll be grateful when I succeed. I'll feel peace when the problem is solved. I'll feel love when the right person shows up. But that is giving away your power. That is waiting for the outside to create the inside. And as long as you wait, you delay. But when you flip it, when you say, I will feel grateful now, so gratitude becomes my atmosphere. I will feel peace now, so peace becomes my state. I will feel love now, so love becomes my reality. The outer world begins to shift, because emotions are not passive, they are creative. They send signals to your body, to your brain, to the field of reality itself. Think of it as tuning a radio. If you want to hear jazz, you must tune to the jazz station. If you want to live a life of abundance, you must tune your emotions to the frequency of abundance. If you want to live a life of healing, you must tune your emotions to the frequency of wholeness. The signal must come first. Of course, this is not about denying emotions. It is not about plastering happiness over pain. It is about noticing the low states without drowning in them, and then choosing to shift toward higher ones. It is about training your emotional body the same way you would train your physical one, with practice, repetition, and awareness. So ask yourself, what emotions am I rehearsing every day? Do I wake up rehearsing stress, anger, worry, or do I rehearse gratitude, calm, and joy? Because whatever you practice, you perfect. Whatever you practice, you become. And here is the greatest truth of all. When you master your emotions, you master your reality. Not because you control the world outside, but because you no longer give the outside control over you. You become the creator of your state. You become the designer of your inner atmosphere. And when your inner atmosphere changes, your outer reality has no choice but to follow. Memory is both a gift and a burden. It allows us to learn, to grow, to carry forward the wisdom of experience. But memory can also become a prison. It is the quiet warden that locks us inside a past we no longer live in, yet continue to rehearse over and over again. And the truth is, most people are not living their lives in the present moment. They are living inside their memories. Think about it. Every time you recall a painful moment, your body responds as if it is happening again. Your heart rate shifts, your stomach tightens, your mind races. The event may have occurred years ago, but your body does not know the difference. It relives the pain, the fear, the betrayal, the shame. This is the trap of memory. It makes the past eternal by replaying it in the present. Memories are not static. They are dynamic, alive. Each time you revisit one, you reinforce its emotional charge. You strengthen the neural pathways associated with it, like carving a groove in stone. The more you run your thoughts through it, the deeper it becomes. This is why people say they feel stuck, not because the world refuses to change, but because their minds refuse to release the past. They are carrying chains made of memory. But here's the deeper truth. Most memories are not even accurate. They are interpretations, filtered through the lens of your emotions at the time. You don't remember what happened. You remember how you felt when it happened. Over time, the memory becomes less about the event, and more about the emotional story you told yourself around it. Yet even that distorted memory continues to govern your choices today. For example, imagine someone who was humiliated in school by a teacher or a group of peers. Decades later, as an adult, they still carry that memory. Every time they step into a situation where they might be judged, they shrink back, fearing ridicule. They don't realize that their present hesitation is not about the meeting they are about to attend. It is about a memory from years ago that has chained itself to their identity. This is how the past steals the present. Not because the past has power, but because we give it power by keeping it alive. You must understand, memory is not meant to be your home. It is meant to be a tool, a library of lessons, not a dwelling place of pain. You can visit, you can learn, but you must not live there. The great illusion is believing that because something happened, it must define you forever. That is not true. The event happened once. The suffering, however, happens every time you replay it. In other words, the event is past, but the suffering is present. You are the one keeping it alive by rehearsing it in your mind. This is why letting go is so powerful. Letting go does not mean erasing memory. It means refusing to carry the emotional weight of it into your present moment. It means acknowledging, yes, this happened. Yes, it hurt me, but it will not own me anymore. Some people resist this because their memories have become their identity. They don't know who they are without their past pain. If they let go, they fear they will lose themselves. But here is the paradox. Holding on to the past is the very thing preventing them from discovering who they truly are. Your identity is not what happened to you. It is what you choose to become despite what happened. Letting go begins with awareness. The next time an old memory rises, pause and notice how your body reacts. Do you tense up? Do you feel the same emotions rushing in? If so, recognize it for what it is. Not the present, but the past replaying itself. Breathe deeply. Remind yourself, this is not happening now. This is only a memory. That simple recognition creates space between you and the past. Then, shift your focus. Rather than replaying the memory, ask, what did I learn from this? How did this shape my resilience, my strength, my wisdom? When you extract the lesson, you strip the memory of its chains. It becomes information, not imprisonment. Visualization can help. Picture the memory as a heavy stone you've been carrying in a bag on your back. Feel its weight. Then imagine setting the bag down, unstrapping it from your shoulders, and walking away lighter, freer. This mental exercise communicates to your subconscious that you are no longer bound by the weight of the past. There is also a hidden danger in good memories. Nostalgia can be just as binding as regret. When you cling to a past joy, you rob yourself of new joys. People who constantly long for the good old days are living in chains just as much as those who dwell on painful ones. The past, whether good or bad, must be released so the present can be fully lived. To live free is to carry memory lightly, to honor it as a teacher, not a master, to say, I am grateful for the past, but I will not live in its shadow. I am here, now, in this moment, and this is where my life unfolds. The chains of memory are not broken by force. They are dissolved by awareness, by choice, by the willingness to no longer rehearse the same story. You are not the pain that happened to you. You are not the glory that once was. You are the consciousness experiencing this moment right now. And when you finally understand this, when you truly release the grip of memory, something extraordinary happens. You begin to live not as a prisoner of what was, but as a creator of what can be. That is the first taste of freedom. There comes a moment when the weight of repetition becomes unbearable. You wake up one morning and realize you are tired of your own story. The same arguments in your head. The same fears pulling you back. The same disappointments that you carry, like invisible chains. This moment is sacred, because it is here when you finally see the loop for what it is that the possibility of breaking it begins. The loop is nothing more than a program. It's a script you've rehearsed for so long that your mind and body acted out without hesitation. Like an actor stuck in the same role, day after day, you have forgotten that you can step off the stage. But breaking the loop does not start with massive dramatic gestures. It begins with a pause, a breath, a single decision to no longer be the prisoner of yesterday. Think about it. Every morning, most people wake up and immediately step into the old self. They reach for their phone, check the same notifications, feel the same rush of anxiety or boredom, and then play the same thoughts they left behind the night before. In that very moment, they are already rehearsing yesterday, already locking themselves into the loop. To break it, you must do something radical in its simplicity. Notice the moment your hand reaches for the phone. Notice the old thought that says, "Here we go again." And instead of obeying it, stop. This pause is not weakness. It is power. It is the opening of the door that has always been in front of you. The loop is also fueled by emotional addiction. You might think addiction only refers to substances or habits, but emotions themselves are chemical states your body craves. If you've lived in stress for years, your cells have become accustomed to stress chemicals. If you've lived in anger, your body demands the next dose of that anger to feel normal. So when you attempt to shift, your body cries out like an addict. It says, "No, stay here. Think the angry thought again. Remember the pain. Feed me the feeling I know." Breaking the loop means recognizing that this craving is not who you are. It is the echo of an old self. This is why it feels uncomfortable when you begin to change. Your body resists. Your mind throws doubts. You may feel restless, anxious, even guilty for no reason. But these are signs that the loop is being disrupted. The old program is glitching. And this is good news, because it means you are no longer unconsciously repeating. You are stepping into awareness, and awareness is the first crack in the walls of the loop. To truly break free, you must replace the old pattern with a new one, not just once, but consistently. Imagine you've walked the same path through a field for years. The grass is worn down, the soil is hard, and every step feels automatic. If you want a new path, you must walk it again and again, until it becomes the natural way forward. At first it feels awkward. The grass is high, the ground uneven, but each repetition strengthens it. Each day you choose a new thought, a new response, a new emotion. You are carving a path into the future. One powerful practice is to interrupt the loop with gratitude. Gratitude is more than a polite thank you. It is a state of being that rewires your brain. When you pause and feel gratitude for something simple, the air filling your lungs, the light in the sky, the quiet strength inside you, you shift your emotional state instantly. The loop cannot survive gratitude, because gratitude belongs to presence, not to the past. Every time you choose it, you weaken the grip of the old cycle. Another way is through conscious visualization. The mind does not know the difference between what is vividly imagined and what is physically experienced. So if you begin to rehearse the future self, with the same intensity you once rehearsed your pain, your brain starts to build new connections. Your body begins to anticipate new emotions. You become addicted not to suffering but to possibility, and that addiction liberates you. But remember, the loop does not break in one dramatic explosion. It dissolves through daily choice. Each time you resist the urge to replay an old memory, each time you choose stillness over reaction, each time you feel gratitude instead of resentment. These moments may feel small, but they are the building blocks of transformation. And then something extraordinary happens. One day you wake up and realize that the old thought that once controlled you simply doesn't appear. The memory that once burned now feels like a distant whisper. The emotion that once dragged you into darkness no longer holds power. You have shifted the script. The actor has stepped into a new role. The loop has lost its hold. Breaking the loop is not about erasing the past. It's about refusing to live there anymore. It's about saying, I acknowledge who I was. I accept what I felt, but I am no longer bound by it. I choose again. And in that choice lies freedom. This is the essence of breaking the loop. To reclaim your power to choose. To no longer surrender your life to unconscious repetition. To wake up each day and remember that you are the author, not just the character. That you can write new lines, create new emotions, walk new paths. And as you do, the loop fades. The prison walls collapse. The future opens. You realize that you were never truly trapped, only asleep. And now awake, you are free to live not as the old self, but as the creator of a new reality. Becoming your future self does not begin the day circumstances change around you. It begins the moment you decide to change within you. The greatest mistake most people make is believing that transformation will arrive when the job comes, when the money comes, when the relationship comes, when the opportunity arrives. But reality does not work that way. Reality mirrors who you are being right now. If you remain the same, your life will remain the same. But if you dare to embody a different version of yourself, even when the outside world has not caught up yet, you set into motion a force that pulls your future toward you. Imagine your future self clearly. See them standing before you, not as a vague dream but as a real, living being. How do they walk? How do they think? How do they respond to life? Do they radiate calm instead of anxiety? Do they choose action instead of hesitation? Do they live with gratitude instead of bitterness? Your future self is not distant. They are a pattern of thoughts, emotions, and actions waiting for you to choose them in this very moment. The process of becoming your future self requires rehearsal. Just as an athlete trains their body through repetition, you must train your mind and emotions through repetition. If your old self practiced doubt every day, your new self must practice confidence every day. If your old self rehearsed anger, your new self must rehearse peace. At first it feels unnatural, like wearing new clothes that don't quite fit, but the more you practice, the more natural it becomes, until you no longer have to try, you simply are. This is the secret. The future does not come to you, you go to it. You travel into your future through the choices you make in the present. Every time you think as your future self would think, you collapse time. Every time you feel as your future self would feel, you draw that reality closer. And every time you act as your future self would act, you begin to live the very life you once thought you had to wait for. The key is alignment. Your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions must align with the identity you are stepping into. You cannot think of abundance while feeling lack. You cannot imagine peace while choosing stress. You cannot desire health while continuing the habits of sickness. Becoming the future self means integrity. Not the moral kind alone, but the energetic kind. It means your inner world and your outer behavior match the life you say you want. Ask yourself, what would my future self do in this moment? If your future self is disciplined, then they would wake up early. They would move their body. They would feed their mind. If your future self is abundant, then they would not hoard. They would not live in fear of scarcity. They would make decisions from trust. If your future self is loving, then they would not hold grudges. They would not lash out in anger. They would choose compassion. Every small choice is an invitation to either rehearse the old self or to embody the new one. And here lies the test. The outside world will not immediately applaud your shift. At first it may look as though nothing is happening. You may still face the same bills, the same setbacks, the same environment. But understand this, when you live as your future self, you are no longer measuring progress by what you see outside. You measure it by who you are becoming inside. The moment you start thinking differently, you are already in the process of transformation. The physical evidence is the last part to arrive, not the first. This is why faith is essential. Not religious faith necessarily, but faith in the unseen. Faith that your inner work is real. Faith that energy always precedes matter. Faith that the reality you live inside of will eventually shape the reality you live outside of. Too many give up in the in-between stage, when they cannot yet see the fruit of their labor. But those who persist, those who continue to embody the future self even when their senses tell them otherwise, Those are the ones who break through. Think of it this way. Every time you fall back into your old self, you are rehearsing your past. Every time you choose your new self, you are rehearsing your future. Which one do you want to master? The past or the future? Repetition is destiny. If you want a new destiny, you must repeat new choices. The beauty of becoming your future self is that it's not about pretending, it's about remembering. Somewhere deep inside you already are that person. Somewhere within, you already carry the strength, the clarity, the courage, the compassion you dream of. The journey is not about inventing someone new, but about uncovering the version of you that was buried beneath fear, beneath doubt, beneath habit. The future self is not foreign. It is your truest self waiting to be expressed. So, close your eyes and bring them forward now. Feel their presence. Let their energy wash over you. See through their eyes. Feel through their heart. Think through their mind. The more vividly you experience this state, the more it becomes your natural state. And soon the boundary between who you are and who you are becoming dissolves until there is no difference. Becoming your future self is the art of collapsing time. Instead of waiting for life to change so you can feel different, you feel different now so life changes. Instead of waiting for external validation, you validate yourself now. Instead of waiting for proof, you become the proof. When you wake up tomorrow, ask yourself one question. How would my future self live this day? And then live it that way. Not perfectly, not flawlessly, but intentionally. Each day becomes a thread, and over time those threads weave a new reality, a reality that once felt impossible, but now feels inevitable. You are not trapped in who you were yesterday. You are not chained to the old story. You are not condemned to relive the same patterns. You are free to choose, free to change, free to become. Your future is not waiting. Your future is calling. The only question is, will you answer?